Let's now pull these two gears off. The driven gear is pressed on and the synchronizer hub is also pressed on. I will be using this OTC 7310 puller tool with a longer replacement forcing screw. I will grab the edge on the driven gear with the puller. Never use one or two screwdrivers to try to pry up on the gear. This is a good way to damage the gear. This puller fits perfectly in the cutout on the driven gear. Tighten the wing nuts to keep the puller jaws engaged with the gear. Before using any puller, apply some grease to the tip of the puller and on the threads of the forcing screw. Be careful so the puller does not wedge up against the synchronizer hub. I like to use a large adjustable wrench to hold the puller from rotating while I turn the forcing screw with the ratchet. Never use an impact power tool to turn the forcing screw. That will damage the puller. Here we can see the gear being pulled off. The gear now pulls off by hand and you can remove it from the puller. Make a note that the gear is directional and different from one side to the other. The gear goes on this way. Now we will remove the synchronizer hub using the two 8mm by 125 threaded holes that are in the hub. The synchronizer spring is in the way, so first the spring will need to be removed. Just use a small screwdriver to pry it out. I'll be using what is called a chicken foot puller to remove the synchronizer hub. Lubricate the puller tip and use two 8mm by 1.25 by 80mm bolts and washers. Thread the bolts through the puller and into the synchronizer hub. Make sure to thread the bolts in the same amount with a minimum depth of 1/2 inch. To prevent the puller and shaft from spinning while I'm turning the forcing screw, I'm going to leverage a large screwdriver through the puller and into a cutout in the housing. Now I can rotate the forcing screw and pull the hub off. Once it is loose, the hub and puller will pull off by hand. Remove the puller and inspect the hub to see if it's directional. The inner and outer edges are different. Look at the center splines. On one side they are recessed and on the other side it's flush with the hub. Additionally, the outer splines are also different. Take a closer look at the keys. These too are directional. The bump is not in the center of the key. Notice that the three cutouts in the brass blocker ring match with the three key locations. The blocker ring and gear will now pull off by hand. Inspect the gear because it's directional. The split bearing that supports the gear will now pull off for inspection. Finally, remove the spacer that fits between the snap ring and the bearing. Now the bearing support plate can be removed by removing 5 bolts with a 12mm socket. Note that the support plate is directional and only fits one way. I will use 2 small screwdrivers to expand the large snap ring from the outer edge of the input shaft bearing. I separate the ends as I lift to dislodge the snap ring from the groove. Now I can just walk the snap ring around by hand to remove it. For the snap ring on the output shaft, I will show you how to use flat tip snap ring pliers. Use the pliers to expand the snap ring and use a small screwdriver to leverage the snap ring up and out of the groove. Then walk the snap ring around to remove it. Next, use the special 5/8 snap ring tool to remove the snap ring from the shift rod.